I made Chex Mix and butter chicken and pecan sandies. No, pecan pie.
Welcome to Namely 90s. Wow. The podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right. You're listening to Namely 90s. My name is Andrew, and over there is Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Twitter and Instagram at namely90s with a 90s. You can also find the show on YouTube at namely90s.com/YouTube, or I suppose youtube.com/@namely90s, but that's a new thing. So, whatever. It'll catch on. And finally, if you'd like to support the show, I said it very quickly. And if you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/namely90s, also with a 90s, but without an at, and get signed up for one of our support levels. Hey, welcome to this episode.
November 28th.
November 28th, December episode.
Yeah, well, so it's
pre-December.
We're in the final 4 episodes of our monthly, month a week format. This is episode 130, so this is December 1997. It's the last 4 episodes of Namely 90s. We did it.
Yay!
Did you ever think we'd get here?
No, I actually did not.
Yeah, me
did you?
To be honest, we've done this. This is our 3rd venture into podcasting, I think. More or less, and it turns out if I don't have a job and focus on it completely, we're able to match our schedules. So I took the editing from you on the 3rd episode, I think, because
and I'm glad you did, because your sound filters work much better.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's not just that. I did it because you were busy, and this podcast would have been dead in the water. If we didn't do it that way. So I'm glad we were able to make it to 130 epidodes plus 75.
Listen, a lot of people start a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people produce 150 episodes or more.
Right. Which we have.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Under 3 years, 2.5 years. It's it's nice to just be able to hang out once a week and shoot
exactly.
the shit.
That's kind of what the origin of this podcast was.
That is, I kind of wish I had more access to the internet in high school. I think my life would be very different at this point. Had we had that.
But of course the pandemic revealed that, people had to rely on Zoom to see the people, their friends, their family.
Yeah. And
it's made me realize that it's dumb that even though we live far apart, you can still hang out.
Yes.
You don't have to be in person every time, So it's cool.
Yeah, that's true. And it's just, I look at Smosh, which is still one of the biggest channels on YouTube, and one of their creators is 34, so a little bit older than I am, but had we done things differently, we might have been one of those content creators right now. Just one of those what ifs.
We still could be. We just have to spend a lot of money on stupid gags.
Mm-hmm. Like this in the background.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did there. Probably nothing. Because by the time I did this, I forgot about that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But how have you been? It's not like we've been recording constantly for the last 5 days.
Man. Yeah, just getting over this little bug. It's probably not the COVID, right? But
that was pretty quick. Didn't you just get it on like Saturday?
Yeah, it's just turned into like a cold, and I'm starting to do the incessant coughing. So that's fun. But no, we got some, well, I guess it's after now.
Turkey,
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, but about to have some turkey this week.
Gobble, gobble. Now I think you can officially have your whole Christmas thing going.
The one thing I don't recall if I said is I do
Happy Thanksgiving.
That, but I will say, as far as the Christmas music and Christmas decorating thing, like in this world, if turning on Christmas music on November 1st or putting up your Christmas tree brings you joy, I welcome you to do it, because so few things bring joy in this world.
It's not making me hate you more. No, it's
you already hate everybody.
It's if it brings you joy, I'm not going to yuck your yum. It's the freedom of speech. As long as you're not hurting anyone else with it, by all means.
Yeah, I guess that makes people feel bad about doing stuff that brings them happiness.
Right? Yeah, that's fair.
Unless it's illegal, in which case
we don't yuck yums here. Unless we accidentally do, because we constantly do that.
It's true.
But we try not to.
Yeah. Well, we've talked so much recently that, it's like, hey.
It's hard to fill 10 minutes worth of chit chat.
That's what she said. I don't know.
Well, what did you do for Thanksgiving?
We went to my parents. My brother was there. My family, my brother and his wife and all them. Obviously our family, the two grandmothers, my grandma and my brother's wife's grandma, sister-in-law's grandma, now all live in the area. So they're coming as well. Nice. So this will be one of our biggest Thanksgivings in a long time.
Well, that's fun. That's nice.
So that'll be, it was exciting. We had a lot of fun.
We're recording this prior to that.
Yeah, it's complicated. And how about yours?
Well, my aunt and uncle retired on my mom's side. And I usually go. So the last 2 years I went down to LA to visit them, Pasadena area. And unfortunately this year, one of my aunt's relatives passed away. So I think sister-in-law, I'm not sure how it all works. But so they had the funeral early last week, like a day or two before Thanksgiving. So they're staying up in the Bay Area, and they're having me come up there because that's where they lived prior to retiring. And so it's like going back to Thanksgiving in the Bay that I'd done for a decade prior to going down to LA. So it'll be fun to see all of my aunt's relatives, and not the most fun since they've just had someone pass away, but it'll be nice for me is what I'm saying, to see them all, because I haven't seen them in 3 years at this point, and 2 years, whatever. And or it has been nice seeing them. We went tasting in Napa on Friday, or Sonoma or Livermore, who knows. It's hard to get those last minute reservations. It was a good time had by all. Nice to see them catch up. A little shorter than usual. Now I feel guilty for not visiting more often during the rest of the year this year.
But it can be hard. It's life.
Yeah, but I have a little more free time than say you lately. Hopefully I will get to rectify that in the coming year. And hopefully everyone else out there enjoyed their Thanksgiving as well. Or if you're listening in a country that doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, American Thanksgiving is a day where we are thankful for things, and also insulin.
In what? Okay. That's funny.
Thank you. But yeah, it's kind of the kickoff to the holiday season, as I like to say, but we're not yucking yums. So, where should we get into it?
Let's get into it. So yeah, why don't you tell us what was going on in December of 1997?
Travel back with me, listeners, if you will, to December of 1997. On the 6th, Quake 2 is released for Windows. It's released in 1999 for the N64 and the PlayStation 1. Are you a Quake 2 fan?
No, only no.
Did they make an engine out of that? I feel like they made
there's a Quake engine for sure.
On the 11th, a federal judge orders Microsoft not to bundle Internet Explorer 4 in Windows. Something about a monopoly. Mr. Moneybags.
I remember that.
On the 14th, director Luc Besson marries Mila Jovovich. They divorce 2 years later. Do you remember Luc Besson?
He directed my favorite movie, The Fifth Element.
Oh,
which
yes.
starred Mila Jovovich.
Well done.
And Bruce Willis.
I'm impressed that I'm so proud you've learned stuff on this podcast. On the 15th, the San Francisco 49ers retire the number 16 in honor of Joe Montana. Or as he likes to say, Montana.
You should have seen the guy. You should have seen Steve Colorado. Okay.
It's late. I laughed at that. On the 15th, Maud Apatow is born. Do you know who Maud Apatow is?
Any relation to Judd?
Yes, one of 2 daughters, I believe. And
okay.
I want to say she's on Euphoria.
And then there's Maud.
And then there's Maud. On the 16th, over 700 children in Japan are hospitalized after watching the Pokemon anime episode featuring Porygon.
Whoops.
Never aired again.
Did those 700 children have a history of epilepsy, or?
I think they discovered that they are So
what you're saying is Pokemon episode saves 700 children's lives.
Yeah, as long as they weren't thrashing about and biting their tongues. It saved over 700 children's lives. On the 18th, speaking of saving lives, Chris Farley dies of an overdose of a speedball. Do you know what a speedball is, Andrew?
Speedball, yeah. Apparently it's cocaine and morphine.
I did not know that prior to researching this episode. I knew it was a thing. I didn't know what it was. He dies at the age of 33. Too soon.
Rip to the max.
Rip to the max, Chris Farley.
I hope he's happily in heaven, living in a van down by the river. Even though that was what he feared.
No, Matt Foley was living in a van down by the river.
And now all that any millennial wants is to live in a van down by the river.
That's true. And some Gen Xers. On the 21st, Yoshi's Story is released for the N64 in Japan, March 10th in the US, but clearly we've already done that episode and haven't talked about it. On the 22nd, MTV removes the music video for Smack My Bitch Up by Prodigy from its broadcast rotation. Remember Smack My Bitch Up?
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Smack my bitch up. Yeah, you can't say that.
No, you can't. And we just said it multiple times. On the 23rd, Woody Allen, 62, weds Soon Yi Previn, 27, adopted daughter of Mia Farrow, whom he dated for 10 years when Soon Yi was 11 to 21, and then immediately dated her after leaving Farrow. Also on the 23rd, a Hanukkah candle is lit at the Vatican for the first time ever, to reconcile Roman Catholics and the Jews. Also on the 23rd, Gran Turismo is released for the PlayStation in Japan, May 1998 in North America and Europe. Gran Turismo. On the 24th, TNT/TBS broadcast a 24 Hours of a Christmas Story for the first time.
I don't need that.
You don't? I
no.
Kind of like it. It's just something to throw on in the background. I like A Christmas Story. I have a feeling you don't like A Christmas Story.
Yeah, I don't need to watch it all day.
True, but you're doing other things and you kind of come back to it. Just kind of pop in, pop out.
That's true.
On the 25th, Jerry Seinfeld announces his hit TV series will end the following year, which sows tension between Jews and Catholics.
Why does that? Are Jews not allowed to have TV on TV?
No, that was just a dumb joke.
Oh, okay.
Because the Roman Catholic Church had just fixed it. Then Seinfeld ending, the most popular show in the world at the time, makes everyone angry.
Yeah, sure.
Especially Kanye, yes. Kanye West for some reason. On the 30th, the memoir I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou is removed from the curriculum for the 9th grade English classes in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, for portraying, quote, white people as being horrible, nasty, stupid people.
Isn't that what we did to black people for like 300 years?
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the earlier renouncing of quote unquote woke curriculum bullshit,
or quote unquote wocus pocus.
Yeah. Just let people read your shit, man. On the 31st, Microsoft buys Hotmail for, unless it's like racist shit, Microsoft buys Hotmail for $400 million and rebrands it to MSN Hotmail. Remember your Hotmail account?
I do, yeah.
Do you still have it?
No, I probably could get back into it if it could.
Yeah, I used to use it for junk mail, but I don't.
I'm well beyond that. I just used my junk email is my email.
Yeah, mine as well. You should see how many unread I have. And finally, also on the 31st, Will Smith marries Jada Pinkett
Smith. No.
Well,
damn it.
She became Smith. Yes. TV ending in December of 1997. On the 4th, Extreme Ghostbusters cartoon. On the 6th, The Magic School Bus cartoon. On the 7th, Real Monsters cartoon. On the 10th, The Tony Danza Show live action. On the 12th, Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego, or as I wrote, Where in Time in Carmen Sandiego. Cartoon. On the 15th, Johnny Bravo cartoon, which returned 2 years later, 1999. And finally, on the 17th, Men Behaving Badly live action ? In the box office, December 1997. On the 5th, we have Good Will Hunting. Applesauce, bitch. Do you remember Good Will Hunting?
Something about Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Yeah, and liking apples.
No. Something about a train.
How do you like them apples? On the 12th, we have Home Alone 3 and Scream 2. On the 19th, we have Titanic, and Tomorrow Never Dies. And then on the 25th, we have An American Werewolf in Paris and As Good as It Gets, starring Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt. And the Billboard charts. Number 1 in the Billboard charts for December 1997. In from October and out through January is Candle in the Wind 1997 edition by Elton John, who just played his last show yesterday, I believe.
Sad.
Or maybe he's on a tour. I'm not sure. Continuing on for the last week of December 1997. At number 2, we have How Do I Live by Leanne Rimes. At number 3, we have You Make Me Wanna by Usher. Number 4, Together Again by Janet Jackson. Number 9, Truly, Madly, Deeply by Savage Garden. Number 11, Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba. Number 14, I Don't Want to Wait by Paula Cole. Number 18, Spice Up Your Life by Spice Girls. Number 22, Foolish Games / You Were Meant for Me by our Lord and Savior here at Namely 90s, Jewel. And number 23, I Do by Lisa Loeb. And finally, at number 25, we have Semi-Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I poop my pants. And now let's go to Brandon for the Namely 90s Minute.
Welcome back to our mid-episode break, namely 90s Minute. Every week you look back at a culturally relevant show, movie, or piece of pop culture that probably helps stoke the algorithm. This week, in honor of Santa Claus doing a Die Hard, we're looking back at the last time Die Hard was set at Christmas. Die Hard 2. Die Hard 2, sometimes referred to as Die Harder due to that tagline being bigger than the actual title of the movie on its posters, is a 1990 action thriller starring the Fifth Element as John McClane, the wife from the first Die Hard as his wife, McGarrett's dad in the Hawaii Five-0 reboot as the villain, the first victim in Christine as the airport's chief engineer, Walter Peck from Ghostbusters is basically the same character / the wife's co-worker from the first movie, the original Django as the corrupt foreign military leader Esperanza, the dad from Good Times as Major Grant, who you think is good but isn't, Detective Sipowicz from NYPD Blue as the airport police chief, future Senator Fred Thompson as the air traffic director, and Carl Winslow from Family Matters as his cop character from the first movie in a very weak cameo. The story begins 2 Christmas Eves after the first movie as Sixth Sense arrives at Dulles International Airport to pick up his wife. While he waits, he notices some men sneaking around the airport. This was before the TSA stopped you from just walking up to the gates without a boarding pass, and tries to tell people about the suspicious characters. Turns out they're disgraced ex-military trying to free an incoming foreign prisoner / former corrupt military leader they like. The terrorists, yes, we've been over this, white militants from our own country can still be considered terrorists, take over a church on the outskirts of the airport and take control of the lights on the runway and disable communication with all the incoming planes, so their favorite dictator's plane can land and they can rescue him. Worried about his wife, Unbreakable tries to stop them but fails, only to get double-crossed by a US Special Forces team that was in league with the terrorists. And as the 747 that is trying to escape with the terrorists is taking off, Armageddon rips a hole in the fuel line and tosses a lighter on the trail of gasoline, which catches up to the plane taking off and it explodes. Also, his wife uses a stun gun on her annoying co-worker in the plane they're on. With the fire at the end of the runway visible, the circling planes are able to land and the day is saved. And that's Die Hard 2 in a namely 90s minute. More or less.
And now, back to the show.
All right, anywhere you want to go?
Ooh, the list is just immense.
So many things to talk about. We should have, had we known we were going to be so tired for this episode.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's fine.
Shifted it around. Wow, I even could have done that because I had the next episode prepped and ready.
Let's see.
So many things.
Let's see. I like Tomorrow Never Dies, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Hotmail, Gran Turismo.
I feel like we talked about Hotmail before.
It's like whenever I see someone with a Hotmail address now, I'm like, wow, you're a loser.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure one of my relatives still has.
Worse yet, Yahoo.
Earthlink, I was going to say.
Oh, yeah. When people have like a netzero.com or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's dogpile.com.
Dogpile.com. Trying to use the richest shit
that
on
does
the
remind
internet.
Me in the show Schitt's Creek, where Myra's like, I asked Jeeves this extensively.
That's a good, yeah.
And the funny thing is that joke just goes over a bunch of people's heads, you know?
Yep. There's a Community joke where, I've said this before, the older Chevy Chase character is like, look it up, dude. Encarta it.
Well, like, why did MSN? It was like at hotmail.com or at msn.com. And for a while it was at live.com, which didn't really make any sense.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
And now it's all about the Outlook Office situation.
Is Outlook
Outlook is becoming Office 365. No,
365 is now something else. Or no, Office is 365.
Let's look it up right now.
Yeah, because
the Office app is becoming the new Microsoft 365 app.
Yeah. Which, is kind of bullshit that you have to pay $100 per year now just to use the Office suite.
This is compelling stuff.
Oh, I mean,
even OpenOffice is not as good. I'm sorry.
It's not. And you do get free dictation if you're subscribed to 365, but you can still buy like a yearly Office thing, but it's just the builds aren't great anymore. It's kind of sucks.
Everything's subscription now. It's how they get you.
It's how they get you. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Gmail is just kind of the standard these days.
I mean, if you use it enough, it is nice to have like Office and Adobe subscriptions because you are constantly getting the updates and whatnot. But yeah, Hotmail, Gmail is a standard for sure. People going back to Yahoo Mail.
But why though? I've used it before. It's terrible. I was like,
it's terrible.
It's the worst. Yeah. So pretty much, what else can you say about Hotmail?
Not much. Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to use my Hotmail to log into my MySpace account.
I use it with my MSN Messenger.
Oh yeah, I remember MSN Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
I do deeply miss the AOL Instant Messenger days.
I do. Yeah.
Like you don't need it anymore, but I do miss it.
It was more fun that way to just kind of, throw some lyrics that you slightly modified with a girl's name into your profile and just
and then like when someone came online, but then they went off really fast, it was like, is it their internet or did they see you? It was like that whole thing.
Oh yeah. Did they get online, see you, block you, and then continue their lives? Yeah,
which probably never actually happened. I think everyone just had such shitty internet connections back then.
Yeah. Well, so I saw a great meme today where it might have been yesterday, but it was something to the extent of, let's see if I can find it. Here it is. The difference between millennials and Gen Z, it's actually just a tweet. The difference between millennials and Gen Z is that we millennials spent our youth hiding behind a computer screen and are now afraid to do simple tasks that involve communicating, like calling the dentist. And Gen Z is literally growing up fearless on a screen.
Yeah. It is funny though, because it's like the last thing I want to do is call anywhere.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I talk on the phone a lot for work, so I'm good at it, but it's like, yeah, no, I want to go online.
Yeah, I feel weird. I feel weird about calling people, even in my family. Like, I feel like they're doing other things. Why would I bother them? Because that's how I feel.
Yeah, remember when you had a phone in your house and people it was called regardless?
Yes.
You couldn't send a message to ask permission to call first.
Right. And then that's the weird thing. It's like, you send a text, hey, can I call you? And then you're left on red and you're like, oh, well,
like,
I guess
if you
not.
Called me, if I was just out and about tomorrow and you called me, I'd be like, holy shit.
I just feel like it's like
and
that,
I would answer immediately because I'd be like, what happened?
Exactly. And it's like that Family Guy episode where Peter gets taken to that women's camp or whatever, and then he becomes more feminine, quote unquote.
Oh yeah.
And he just calls Quagmire and he's like, hey Quagmire, what you doing? He's like, why'd you call me, Peter? He's like, no reason, just wanted to talk.
Yeah, seriously, if you called me, I'd be like, this is serious.
Yeah.
I need to take this.
Yeah. Clearly Brandon has died and someone was calling me because I'm still on his ice contacts.
Yeah, that's super true.
Are you still on my ice contacts? Huh. Anyway, yeah, we got 5 minutes out of Hotmail.
Now let's talk about hot pants. No, I'm kidding.
Let's discuss this creepiness. No, I want to focus on Chris Farley before we get to something lighter.
Rip to the max.
Rip to the max. Matt Foley. I just watched the sketch again. Unrelated. One of the episodes coming up in our 12 Days of Christmas specials, which is now 3 weeks away, plus 2 days. Had Christina Applegate, which made me think of the first Matt Foley sketch, a character on SNL that Chris Farley did, where he played a man that lived in a van down by the river. He was a motivational speaker, and parents would bring him in to scare straight their dope using teenagers.
Oh, this is all very interesting. I didn't realize that it's David Spade and Christina Applegate.
Oh yeah, it's David Spade and Christina Applegate. I also just saw an article where so Phil Hartman's the dad. I don't remember who is the wife, the mom, but I did read that she still thinks about that sketch all the time because she's they had to like reposition the cameras because she was cracking the whole time watching Chris Farley do the bit. So that's why it's more like, that's why it's on David Spade and Christina Applegate so much, because she's like full on breaking. And like, it's one of my favorite SNL sketches, because like you could see Christina Applegate's like hair covers her, so she's clearly laughing. David Spade breaks at one point, and he's just like,
one of my favorite things is the character was created by Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, that makes so much more sense. I didn't know that.
But apparently it was redone by Melissa McCarthy on the 40th anniversary special.
Yes, I did. I've watched. Well, I've seen every SNL since probably, when did LeBron host? 2012. I mean, yeah, I've watched every SNL since I've been in college. So, oh God, that's over a decade. And I've gone back. I haven't watched all of SNL, but I have gone at times. That first season of SNL is like lightning in a bottle, although a little insensitive at this point in time. Even I get affected. Samurai Deli. It's the other guy that died that everyone loves. That's not Phil Hartman. Terrible brother actor. According to Jim
Belushi?
John Belushi, thank you.
John Belushi, yeah.
Jim Belushi's the brother. John Belushi's the dead one. John Belushi dresses up in a samurai outfit and is just like slicing salami in a deli. That's the whole bit. Yeah. But no, Chris Farley had some great ones. He did the Chippendales one with Fabio, where it's Chippendale tryouts, and like he's in the black pants, and then like his belly's like spilling over, and he's just like going hard dancing to the music next to Fabio, and that's an amazing one. He had a recurring segment where he would ask the famous celebrities that were on, like, do you remember this? That was really cool. And then the one I remember is with Paul McCartney. But he just he acts all nervous and asks them questions, and then says, yeah, that was really cool. What else? The Bears, who's with the John Goodman, like three of them that would go, "Duh, Bears." And
people reference that all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure you hate that one.
I do.
Yeah, and then I think he did drag with Mike Myers for the New Jersey or New York girls phone call-in show. They were like Upper East Side ladies, and very, very, stereotypical New York 90s. But yeah, Matt Foley, motivational speaker. Great character. Chris Farley. Oh yeah, and then we've talked about Chris Farley previously with Black Sheep and Tommy Boy.
Yeah. Yep.
And Beverly Hills Ninja, underrated. Although I haven't seen it in 35 years, so don't quote me on it.
There's Chris Nearly, Chris Farley, Chris Wherever You Are, Lee. Which is actually not a segue into the movie Titanic, but is a reference to the song.
Far, wherever you Porygon episode. No, Tomorrow Never Dies.
Tomorrow Never Dies. It's a fun movie. Pierce Brosnan, his second foray as James, his second installment as James Bond, has the kind of villainous guy that kind of reminds me of Steve Jobs. They
were definitely going for a Steve Jobs look with that.
But like the story didn't really make any sense.
The story, if I remember correctly, is he owns like a media conglomerate that's worldwide, and they're launching like a 24-hour news channel akin to like
this
what
is what everyone's
eventually
like
would be
afraid
Fox
of news conglomerates.
Well, because CNN and Fox News weren't a thing at that point, or they were.
How does that make you a villain? I don't know.
Because he controls the media. Whoever controls the media controls the narrative, Mr. Bond.
Oh, so like that one family that owns everything?
The Murdochs?
Yeah.
That's the right one, right?
I think I was going to say Hearst, but that's kind of dated.
That is a little dated.
Yeah. But that's the movie where like he throws the guy into the printing press and it just gets blood everywhere. And he's like, they'll print anything these days.
Yeah.
The remote controlled BMW that he can control through his Sony Ericsson phone
with the weird Avis rental car company like tie-in. Like Q was wearing an Avis. Is Avis even around anymore? Like,
yeah,
it was a red vest, and yeah,
it's not the best movie.
So I had to watch. I didn't have to watch it. I volunteered to watch this for All 90s Action All the Time, and was on their episode discussing this and Goldeneye. 2 different episodes if you want to go check those out for a more in-depth discussion. But like. Watching this movie again after so many years of not having seen it, there are Pierce Brosnan's lines in this movie. Like, I don't think he has a coherent sentence that ends in anything other than a quip. Like
they're all just quips.
Everyone is just constantly quipping. Like it's 95% quips. I swear to God. Especially his lines. And the other thing, as a kid, I always thought that Natalia from Goldeneye was Terry Hatcher's character in this. Because they had this similar, like, I don't know, was that the Rachel? It was like a bob.
Yeah.
And they looked very similar. And she was always like shot in silhouette too, because she died quickly. And Michelle Yeoh's in this, which is awesome.
True.
You saw this way before I did. I didn't get to see this in theaters. I feel like you saw it in theaters. I remember you liking this movie before I had even been able to see it.
Yeah, I mean it's good. You know, it's not the best by any means.
Well, I mean, when we were kids, just seeing a Bond movie is cool.
Exactly.
It's a good one. Michelle Yeoh plays like a Chinese Ministry of State Security agent.
And then they do that weird like handcuff motorcycle escape scene,
which is still just all quips. And then I think the end of that is she's like, You ride a motorcycle very well, Mr. Bond.
It's all the only thing I ride well. That's funny what he says.
He says something akin to, "That's because I never grew up." And it's like, okay, what? I'm still a child at heart. I want to bang you. What? And yeah, that was Bond 18 for the most part. And then the other thing with the Brosnan era is this one and the next one. There's a lot of submarine action. I think there's a submarine action on or like
whatever that one with like the bald guy that has like the messed up brain, and then he has to like shove a nuclear fuel rod through his eyeball or something at the end.
Yeah, that's The World's Not Enough.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, that's the next one.
Yeah,
that's the one you let me borrow in VHS. I think. And
then which is the one with the guy with like the diamonds in his face? That's
Die Another Day.
That's
the last one. That's the bad one of the batch. I would say.
Oh, the world's not enough is the one where they make all the gratuitous Christmas jokes.
Yes.
Looks like Christmas is coming early this year, or something like that.
No, she came twice this year. Or Christmas came twice this year.
Terrible.
That's Denise Richards.
Yes.
And if for some reason your VHS copy of that The World's Not Enough was somehow worn out around the time when she was trying to escape the submarine or boat with the water coming in. I have no idea why that
the wet t-shirt portion of the film.
Yes. Horny child. as most males are.
It was the only one of Brosnan's Bond films not to open at number 1 because it opened on the same day as Titanic.
Oh yeah, can you imagine that? Like if your significant other was like, oh, let's go to the movies, and you're like, oh my god, there's a Bond film, we should go see a Bond film, and they're like, yeah, I want to see Titanic. What would you do?
Boy. That relationship is a sinking ship. That relationship is sinking would have been the way to say that joke.
I think sinking ship worked.
Is it too soon?
No, that was last century. Oh, that was another one that I saw. It was like millennials should not have to suffer being lumped in the same century as the Titanic sinking and a movie being made about the Titanic sinking.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's number 3?
I think we already did number 3.
Oh, we did. Dude.
But I liked Home Alone 3. I'm always just going to throw this out there. Home Alone 3 was good. I had it on VHS. It's Scarlett Johansson's first, one of her first movie roles. She plays Kevin's sister. The plot is basically the robbers. There's 4 robbers. They're like international tech thieves or something, and they steal a computer chip and put it inside a remote control car. The nice old lady that lives next to Kevin accidentally grabs the wrong remote control car because she brought one back for him because he was watching her house while she was gone. And then the robbers, Kevin's home alone sick. And this isn't Macaulay Culkin. This is a new kid. Yeah. And he, with a wisecracking parrot that's sentient, I think, because he hunts down and blows up these robbers at one point. Standard fare. But they're trying to get this RC car, and Kevin's, doing his Saw stuff on them. And yeah. Anything? Yoshi Story, Gran Turismo?
Never saw it. No, I mean the Porygon episode. What was the issue with that? Just too many flashing lights and stuff.
Sorry, I missed that. My Siri went off.
Porygon episode. What?
Oh yeah, the Porygon episode.
How did that happen?
So there was a sequence in the anime where they go into the digital world. Porygon digitizes them. And as Porygon fires, I think it's not pin missile, but some sort of missile attack. And there's explosions on the screen. The background's like blue, and it's the missiles are flashing red. So it just does that red and blue flashing sequence that people with that are susceptible to epilepsy get triggered by.
Wow.
Which watching the new Dragon Ball Super stuff, I feel like I'm going to have.
I think there's a certain specific rhythm that like causes it. So as long as you're not within that, you're fine. I was just reading the rating for Home Alone 3. It says rated PG for slapstick violence, language, and mild sensuality. Well, then my life is rated PG. Heyo. Zing.
Bazinga.
Man, that could have been in episode of
Woody Allen's
Children.
Oh, yes.
Mild sensuality. Anyway.
Should we talk about Titanic? I feel like
I don't know, it's kind of a Titanic task.
That's true.
I mean, it was, let's just say, it was critically acclaimed, great soundtrack, historically relatively accurate.
Is it? I guess that's true. And so I remember seeing the behind the scenes stuff. They would always show it on like ET or Entertainment Weekly or whatever. And like they built an actual like they built the sea. Like they built like a giant tank and they put a Titanic's like replica on it, if I remember correctly. And it was, and then they sank it. And like James, I want to say that was James Cameron, right?
Yeah.
James Cameron put a lot into this movie.
I bet it was Michael Bay. Everyone just explodes when they hit the water.
I want to say Michael Bay did a version of the Poseidon Adventure, which is the one where the steam liner turns upside down and they have to get from the bottom or the top.
Didn't they? didn't they do some dives to the Titanic to research for this movie?
Well, that was James Cameron. So James Cameron, he's a deep water enthusiast, and he has his like portable submarine thing. I think this is when he had they were still getting into the remote.
Oh God, please tell me it's yellow.
It's yellow. It's the yellow. It's the one you're thinking of. It's the
exact
submarine. Yes, but it's the one it's like the one with the robotic arms. And
but yeah, it was, I think, historically relatively accurate while still being a Hollywood production. Unlike the movie Pearl Harbor, which the only true thing about the movie Pearl Harbor is that there is a place called Pearl Harbor that was attacked.
This up because we saw this with our buddy Ben, and God, that was like, we got dropped off. It was like a 3-hour movie, and it was I kind of liked it, but at the same time, it was just like, this is terrible.
Had nothing to do with reality,
right?
And then two people can't fit on a door.
Yes, I'm pretty sure MythBusters busted that, right?
Yeah, I think they busted that. But no, it's
and it's also from what I understand, the movie is framed by like Rose. Old Rose has the blue heart diamond necklace thing that she drops into the water.
I think the problem with the Titanic is like, please, for the love of God, don't use the phrase unsinkable ship. Because like, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm sorry.
I want to say it was a Futurama episode that did that, but I know they did it in Doctor Who. They're like, it's the Titanic too. It's an unsinkable cruise liner, and then it sinks.
Not that funny, but kind of funny. I think that does it.
All right. That's it for this week's edition of Namely 90s. Remember, you can find new episodes out every Monday. Check the episode description for this week's supplemental Spotify playlist curated by yours truly. Find us on Twitter, if that still exists, and Instagram at Namely90s with 90s, or find our personal Twitter accounts, again, if it still exists, at bshwitty and at NamelyAndrew, and tell us what you want us to talk about on future episodes. If you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/namely90s, also with a 90s. Finally, you could contact us through our website, namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Yoshi's Story, Deezer, TuneIn, iHeart, Good Pods, and wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Brandon, that's Andrew, and we'll catch you next time.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. I don't know the rest.